Well, hi there, folks. I've been digging up bodies. That's not true. I've been having Davey do it. I'm really excited to have all of you with us tonight because we have Suzie Lennox, who is going to be helping us understand just exactly what happened with body snatchers. So we are very excited. Davey's excited. Davey's so excited that he's been shoveling things in the backyard. It's been a peculiar.
Yes, these hands have gotten dirty for this one. And I gotta tell you, we come up with these fun puns for the names of the episodes. I'm really proud of this one.
Yeah,
You'll really dig our discussion.
You're
I'm
gonna
proud
dig
of this
it.
one. Yeah.
So without further ado, let us welcome Suzie Lennox.
Yay! Hi.
Hello. It's been we had all kinds of crazy things happen. Peculiars, I just want you to know that I literally plucked Suzie out of thin air because we had the timing slightly, daylight savings time is different in the UK than the US, but by golly, she's here with us. That's so exciting. I just noticed Leanne Weiberg has put up a little, she says, why was the corpse sad? They took him off laugh support. Thank you. So our audience tend to do their comments, and we'll throw those up as they come along. All of you online, make sure you're queuing up questions. We will start, however, by, there's Mike Breen. Hello, everybody. Hi, Mike. We'll start, though, by talking a little bit about the cocktail, because I had some suggestions. I said to folks, gosh, what are we going to do for this cocktail? And people said, well, it should be dirty, right? It should be muddy. So we went with a take on the mudslide, and it's got like a chili cocoa rim, and we used horchata or rum chata actually, and chocolate liqueur and vodka and cream and all kinds of fun stuff like this. And the name that has been chosen for this cocktail, I think you're going to really like this, is the Dirty Burke. The Dirty Burke. Like Dirty Burke is the winner for our cocktail this evening. We've got Well, at the end of the year, we actually put together a little booklet of our drinks. And so it goes out to our members and subscribers. And in the future, I hope someday to actually make it, like when we've done enough of these, to make it an actual book. Stephanie Smith is here. Hi, Stephanie. And so is Chloe. A couple other folks. You guys feel free to hop on and say hi. I had a hard time. I was sort of trying to choose my my various costuming for this one, and I thought, if I'm digging up bodies, maybe I ought to like put like a veil over my face so nobody knows it's me. But this didn't seem like it was completely. It's not a great disguise. It's not a great disguise. Kathleen Richardson said, "I put a chill in the drink itself too. Woo! This will wake the dead." Sharon says it's a stout night in her house. All to the good. We're all very good there. It's been really nice to explore cocktails. So the nice thing about the mudslide is you can do it non-alcoholic as well. And we do have a recipe. We put out a recipe for that too for our group. So I want to start with a question that's semi-related to the muddy drink. And it'll give a chance for the peculiars to put their questions up in the feed. And that is, just how dirty was grave robbing? Like, was it a really filthy profession, or like were they,
Of course, I've got one body snatcher who was caught because he had like cream breeches or trousers on, and he was identified with his muddy knees.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was, because don't forget, they're going to dig in, and then someone has to kind of lean into the grave to either put the rope around the neck or the hooks under the arms. So you've got to not vertical on the floor, but kind of leaning. And if it's wet, you're going to could slip on the soil. So fairly dirty. I would say fairly dirty and clayey. Yeah, and smelly. So I've got one body snatcher who smelled of corpses. That's what his description was like. They actually corpses. And he had a wife and a girlfriend, can I just say?
Both at the same time.
I know, I don't know what his secret is.
Well, yeah, like, ooh, what is that perfume? It smells like rotting flesh. I can't resist it. I've often wondered, because I love Young Frankenstein, where they're digging up, they're digging up the body, and he's like, "Oh, it's such filthy work." And he says, "Well, it could be worse. It could be raining." And he just starts pointing. I'm assuming they did this in all weather, yes?
Well, yeah, but I've not seen anything otherwise.
Right.
They didn't do it under a full moon for obvious reasons. It would be too bright
Sure,
for them,
sure.
obviously. But I've not seen anything that would say that, oh, we can't go out because it's raining, or you know, or it's frosty. There's examples where body snatchers have been caught because they've left footprints in the frost.
Okay,
so
okay.
They did go out in the cold. So
well, right, and I suppose they'd have to, right? Because most dissections took place, if I'm not mistaken, when it was not particularly, high summer or anything.
Well, yeah, dissecting season, so October till May. And then you get the odd ones between the summer if there's a bit of a need or anybody's died that's got a bit of an unusual ailment that they've died of. They would have been on, or even if the village doctor had an operation to perform and had to practice.
Nice.
Some willing labourer. Can you just?
Oh, I suppose on the bright side, it wouldn't have smelled like formaldehyde.
No, but they must have said. So I do have a look to see what decomposition rate is, and it's something I'm going to have to drill down on really, because I don't entirely know. But usually they're snatched within like the same day.
Yeah. Okay.
But
sure.
some of them are snatched like a couple of days, or they've kept them for a couple of days, and I'm like, surely that's got to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a medical historian. I'm so I don't know.
I can tell you that dead things actually depends on where you're dead, whether or not there's like open wounds and things that little maggoty things can crawl in, oxygen, temperature. There's a lot of that, but also, I mean, if the person how they died kind of tends to matter too, right? So like there's going to be different rates of decomposition for different types of people, different types of deaths. I have smelled rotting flesh. I assume so. I sort of always assume everyone has smelled rotting flesh. Show of hands. Anyway, I mean, not necessarily people, but I mean, I smelled dead stuff. Most of us have smelled dead things. It's not pleasant, right? It's not like something you go, I wonder what that smell is. I feel like once you're like, no, cadaverine. That's what that is. But I'm fascinated by that. Dead mice. Okay, Leanne said dead mice. I have to Leanne put a joke up here too. I said that the Dirty Burke won, and she said it won by a hair. Oh. Love it. Yes. So I think you can smell decomposition, but I also know that they wanted the fresh bodies, but once they got to where they were going, how long did dissections take? I mean, it's not like
this is where you need the medical historians here. So as soon as I drop them off at the door, that's really me until they say, I want another one. Do you know what I mean? So I have Kat was on the talk today, and so I quite often talk to Kat and say, Kat, what does this do? And she'll fill me into it. So you need to talk to her for the next bit.
Okay.
But
next
literally,
bit, yeah.
as soon as I'm dropped them off at the door.
You're done. You're like, I'm finished.
As far as I know, they set them in a certain order, and that's as far as I can get. Once they've got them out of the barrel or the box that I've squashed them into.
It's so crazy. And when hearts and brains in buckets, big fun stuff there. And Mike Breen says there's an interesting evolutionary adaptations. We immediately recognize and are repelled by the smell of rotting flesh, and that's true because it's not normally a good thing to be. I mean. It's different if you're a vulture or something, right? Because I think if you're a vulture, you're like, oh, that's hot. I like that. But for us, that means death is nearby and death is not good. I do know a really horrible story about this is on the other side. So see, I feel like we're a meeting of minds here, Susie. You bring me the bodies and I can tell you what happens afterwards.
Yes, please.
but not normally, says Mike Breen. Here at Case Western campus, so I was at the medical school here, they had a body and they stuck it in a barrel, as was, you can tell me more about this, but they had it in a barrel and they had been using this body a bit and it had been around a little bit. And so they kept sticking it up in the rafters every time that, and they actually one of the doctors got caught. I mean, it's a whole thing, but it's just this rotten body like on the roof. Like, I don't know what you're talking. Yeah, it is a weird smell. We don't know where that's coming from. That's, just yes. So I find that all fascinating. Of course, what we really have come here tonight to talk about, though, is how do we get them out, and who does it, and why, and how do we stop it? And it seems like whenever I think of body snatchers, I think of alien movies too, right? Like pod people. But so, tell us, first of all, Suzie, you're a woman after my own heart, but how does someone get interested in grave robbery?
So again, I'm asked this all the time, and I did it mainly when I was at university. Well, it was because I was at university doing my undergrad dissertation. Mm-hmm. And I thought, right, I'm going to write something that I want the lecturers to actually read. Everyone puts in the same the topics. And I thought, I'm not spending all of this time on a topic and researching it for you just to kind of, flick through and do the basics. I want you to actually read it and stop and read it. Mm-hmm. And so I went to my lecturer and said, I'm going to do baby farming. He said, no.
Baby farming.
Baby farming. That's what I started out with. And he said, no, you're not. And he handed me Ruth Richardson's book, Death, Dissection and the Destitute. He said,
I have it on my shelf.
Yes, I think mine's just behind me. And he said, the original that started it all off, actually. He said, go and read this. And like every good student, I went home and just stuck it down on the shelf and went back, like when my next meeting was. And he said, have you read it? I said, I have read it. I said, but I just don't know what you want me to do. Sent me away again and told me to read the chapter on who made the corpse a commodity. And I was just absolutely hooked. I just couldn't get enough. And then so I wrote my dissertation. We were all stood in a long line to hand it in. It's all like the Cold War and, what happened in the Second World War. And it's like, and I handed mine in and they looked at me and I thought, you're going to read that. Excellent. And I've been absolutely hooked ever since. And I've just kept, I've got a database now, about 250 body snatchers, and I can't remember any of them. I can't, but I know they're there. But if you ask me to go, I'm old school, so I do everything on record cards. So if you ask me, is there a case in Essex? Hang on a second. And I'll go and I'll tell you what colour paper it's on and everything. It's really quite
sad. It's great. You got like a whole Rolodex thing going on there. Sharon Roney asks, do you have a favorite body snatching horror movie? Like after having done all of this work?
But I'm not, I'm the biggest scaredy cat in the whole world. So I don't watch anything. I love all the macabre. So it's a bit like Rabbit in the Headlights. You got to watch it or experience it, but I'm petrified. So no, I don't. But I do love the Burke and Hare film with who did Hot Fuzz? Who's the man that did Hot Fuzz? And
Simon Pegg.
That's the one. That's my favorite, and it's my favorite because of when they put the bloke in the barrel and they can't get him out. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. So I used to have my students watch these shows. It's medical history. It's fine. I had them watch this, and I had them watch the Hysteria as well. The one with the vibrators and stuff. We'll get into that next season, folks. There's a lot of sex in next season. We start off with Vagina Obscura next season. So yeah, dead bodies, vaginas. We do it all here. So Kathleen has another question. She says she wants to hear about body snatchers who messed up. People who found stuck in a grave, who needed rescuing. I love that idea. I held my feet just sticking out of the ground or something.
There's there's two that I can think of the top of my head. Now I will say I'm notoriously bad with dates and names, okay, and probably locations. That's because I've got so many. But there's one body snatcher, and he was in Sheffield, just outside Sheffield. And he had been around, Joseph Hall, he was called. It's about the only one that I know because it's local to me. He was found standing in the grave of Joseph Fox, throwing with his soil. And he was caught, pleaded absolute ignorance, of course. And then, but one of my favourites was a gang of three, I think, operating somewhere in London. And they'd targeted this graveyard on and off repeatedly. And so, the parishioners were getting quite fed up of it. And they were targeting the pauper burial ground at the end of the church, end of the graveyard. And they'd put iron doors over the top of it, that padlocked on. But the body snatchers had swapped the padlock for their own dummy padlock. And so they were still taking everything. So one night there's one body snatcher on guard kind of thing, watching out, and two body snatchers breaking in and attempt to rifle the paupers out of the grave. But the parish watch are watching, like, a couple of gravestones behind. They wait until these two body snatchers are in and digging up, and then they actually lock them in there, and they're locked in there for at least, I think it's an hour that they're locked in there for. And they're pretty, so, but there's students that mess up. Crikey, a couple of them, I'm presuming people know about cemetery guns, where the old church's guns are I have a little coffin, hang on my desk. So this is
you have a little coffin on your desk. I love you.
Can I tell you the best bit? It was someone on Twitter, poor Frank Raw on Twitter. He makes paperweights, coffin paperweights, and he got in touch and he said, I've broken one, and the lid comes off. And it snapped across the foot end. I'm so disturbed because it should be snapped across the top. But I would be in seventh heaven if that's my little prop.
Lexi says, "You're our people. You are among your people here, Suzie."
Thank you. I can't remember where I was going with that, but yes, I have got coffee on my desk. So.
Well, I do know of there is a story, and of course, the sad thing is, peculiars, I have a wonderful memory for details except names. So, but here in Cleveland, I used to give this as a talk, and now I've forgotten some of the actors, but I feel like someone's name was Horace. But anyway, a student had gotten caught body snatching. And when the trial came along, his professor turned up to defend him and just walked in and said, the pauper had only the doctor as his friend while he was alive. I fail to see why we shouldn't profit by his death. So I remember the quote, guys. I just don't remember the guy who said it. But so, Oh, cemetery guns. That's what we were talking about. Cemetery guns.
Yeah, as soon as you said about that. So cemetery guns. So that's your coffin head end here. And your cemetery gun is pointing down to the head end, because that's the end that the resurrection men target first. And then you have trip wires spread out across the grave. So the idea is that the body snatcher walks along, doesn't see the trip wires, hits it, and it goes off. I mean,
Does it kill anyone? I mean, does the cemetery gun kill you?
Yeah. That's
it's so Indiana Jones.
We've got a couple of accounts where, and it could be hearsay. A lot of the stuff that I read is folklore, and they can't really back it up with anything. But one student apparently, I think it was in Glasgow, went out and with his mates and was raiding the graveyard. Didn't trip over anything to do with the grave that they were digging. It was the grave next door. As they were walking away, tripped the trip gun. He was killed instantly, and they took him back to their digs and what happened. Oh, digs. Oh, sorry. Digs is an old-fashioned word, but yeah, for halls of residence here in the UK, my mum, and put it about that he committed suicide during the night.
Oh, because then they wouldn't get. Oh, interesting.
So, but we don't know what happened to his body. There's also one where body snatchers were caught in the graveyard, and the cemetery gun went off. And when the parishioners went to have a look to see if they could find anybody, there was a body snatcher's hat in the graveyard with just a single bullet hole in it.
Oh, so, interesting.
And a trail of blood on the grass, apparently.
That's fascinating. You
do get people that adapted the cemetery gun. So there's one bloke that was, I think it was the vicar actually, that he was absolutely adamant that no one was going to break into his graveyard. So he tied a load of cemetery guns together like a magazine.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh.
He had them pointing over the grave end, and went to bed. And about 2:00 in the morning, he said, I heard a tremendous report, and then off this thing went. Fabulous.
I can't even imagine. Do you go out and it's just bodies everywhere? Did you destroy a cat? What happened?
I think there's a couple, not related to cemetery guns, but certainly parishioners shooting with blunderbusses waiting behind gravestones where they've killed, like one of them's killed a parish pig.
Oh,
but then the same story where it's killed a cow, so who's
right, interesting. Chloe says she's imagining literal student digs now, like all going on a dig. The original machine gun, kind of, it sort of seems like one.
It could be.
Kathleen had just met Kat. I just missed it. I had it up there for a second, but she was talking about the cages, and I know you do quite a bit of that, and you have quite a lot of wonderful images, which I should have. If I had thought ahead, I should have put some of them up. But I know we're all following you now, most likely.
Why not?
So about these big cages, I find that fascinating.
They're gorgeous, aren't they? Gorgeous. I love them.
Oh, Mike says he was born in the wrong century. He was meant to be a cemetery blunderbuss guy.
I just so set one of them up because they used to be poachers' guns. They have like a metal rod underneath, and the poachers would have whacked that into a tree and held it from the tree, so it would have pointed down into the woods.
I see.
But that's just adapted. Anyway, that's beside. But caged lairs, I adore caged lairs. I don't know if I could get any more passionate about anything in my life. The best are probably Edinburgh and Glasgow. My God, then they're just so robust.
Yeah,
they're for the richer members of society.
Of course.
And I will confess, every time I go up to Edinburgh, I do try and get in touch with Kat. And Kat recently showed me around some fabulous ones. I was in the seventh heaven. She must have been bored out of her head. But we went to East Preston Street, which looks like, Jurassic Park, the one with the bird cage. I don't know which one.
Yeah. The great big aviary that's for like things, pterosaurs.
Yeah, that's the ones. Well, some of them look like that, and they're just gosh, I don't know. I don't know when they started appearing. Like, so Mort Safe started around 1816.
Right.
Whether they started around the same time, but you've got like in Edinburgh Greyfriars, you've got I think it's 1792 for one of the surgeons on the right hand side, William Inglis, I think it is. So I'm useless at dates and names. But I know where it is. I'll take you to it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
That's the cage layer, and they come in different designs. So there's like the literal iron cage, like which is just phenomenal. Or awesome. There's ones where like that have just got the iron slatted roof.
Right.
So there are two different.
I want the one that I've seen. The one that looks like Morticia Addams might be under there. That's my dream burial right there.
The shorter one that's kind of like an arch.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right. I've seen that. So yeah,
I love those.
The chunky solid things in Glasgow that nothing's gonna ever get through.
Right. You've been up to this. Talking about the necropolis up there, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not in there. They're in the cathedral and the kirkyard as well.
Oh, interesting.
There's a fabulous case from 1813 where the woman ends up being put together back by like a human jigsaw because they can't. A very notorious case, that one. Yeah. Patterson. There's two snatchings on the same night. One from the cathedral and one from Ramshod kirkyard. And an apprentice is walking back to Patterson's school on College Street and overhears the authorities saying there's been a snatching, goes back to Granville Sharp Patterson and says there's been a snatching. He said, don't worry, they're on about the one in the cathedral. We've had the one out of Ramshorn kirkyard. And it turns out that, well, this woman was the wife of one of the city merchants in the town. So she was quite prominent, and they break into the rooms and there's like things boiling on the hearth and, and they do a full search and they're in the tubs of brine and they scoop around and they pick a head out and they find like limbs everywhere. And there is a female torso half dissected on the table in front of them. And they literally find pieces of cadavers around the dissecting room.
This is like real Frankenstein. Would be like, I don't know, that looks like it goes maybe.
Yeah, seriously, they do. They put it together. They there's one brilliant line where one of the doctors stands on an ear on the floor, and the teeth actually they call the dentist in, and they say it's one of the first cases where teeth have been used for like to identify like a victim. But they found like mandibles in the students' pockets and stuff, and they put her all together, rebury her, but they reburied the body, like the main torso of a virgin, where she had about, I think she had about 5 or 6 kids. So
they've got them mixed up.
Yeah, but it's a huge case.
That's fantastic.
Huge case. Yeah,
you know, I was reading. It's a slightly off topic, which I don't want to take us too far down the rabbit hole here, but hole, dig, we're going to end up with those all night, basically. But I was studying the torso murders in England, where they kept finding bits and bobs of bodies washed up in little packets, and they built a wire frame and were reconstructing one of the bodies on that, and that was, oh, what? You don't know, Mike? Mike's like, what?
Yes,
I know. It was. I was gonna write it as a book, but my publisher was like, "Nah, nobody cares about 19th century murder stuff," so I didn't. But and then the murderous Dr. Cream came out, and I was like, "Yes, they do!" But it's too late. So, and Dean Job's going to be on here too, actually talking about that next season. Anyway, but this concept of someone like building someone back together on a wireframe pathology expert says, I've never heard bits and bobs in relationship to body parts before. I grew up in a different sort of world, as we know. Yes, my publisher was wrong. I agree with you, Anthro Girl. That was Simon Schuster, and they're not my publisher anymore. So we've moved on. But yeah, bits and bobs. Maybe it's because I dissected a lot of animals as a child. I'm not sure, because rabbit tails, that's like a bob with bits. I don't know. I've gotten us a bit off topic here. You were talking about mort safe. So tell us the difference between a mort safe and the cages. What's the big?
Okay, so your cages, you can see them visibly really above ground. So there's 2 types of mort safes, which you'll find out about. But your cage layer is literally a cage, like around the enclosure. So it's not your coffin's not in there, so it's underground, and this is just to stop access to the surface, really, to get down to the coffin. Your mort safes, now there's two different styles. There's a heavy iron over coffin, which, if people are familiar with around Scotland, Aberfoyle in Stirlingshire has 2 absolute stunning examples, and they are literally like iron sheaths or over coffins. And these would have been lowered down using like mort safe tackle.
Okay.
And lowered over the coffin and stayed there. All mort safes would have stayed there for about 6 weeks. And then they have to like dig it all up and put it, certainly with the other ones, which are more like a cage. I'm looking around for one on my desk. I don't know why. I haven't got one. I'd love one, mine. But there's the cage one that literally clamps around said coffin. And there's iron bars.
And I've seen those. Okay, yes.
Yeah, like a cage, and the iron rods go. They're pretty long in some cases, and they go right, penetrate right down.
Right.
And there's a great one in Bolton. I'm not sure of the area in Scotland, but it's got like bespoke nuts and bolts for it, so that they can't, like, body snatchers can't break into it. And the mort safe tackle again would have been used to lower it over. But then you have to dig it out and then do it, and then bury the thing. So it's a bit like, but parishes would have. It's usually that parishes didn't club together. Some parishes did club together to get a couple, but usually a parish would have about 3 or 4. Some
I see. So then you
had 7. Sorry about that.
I just was gonna. Anna Lopez Carr, she just dropped in. She said she's a bit late and a bit quiet because she's still at work, but that we are being a delightful distraction. And I feel like when you can say that digging up bodies is a delightful distraction, you are one of us. So Anna Lopez Carr, she is one of our own.
Yeah.
Chloe asks, does that mean the cages weren't as effective?
Good question. I don't know of any cases where the cages haven't been effective, but there are cases when they know that a mort safe has been used and then they've gone in and the body has gone.
So go down to get it, it's still
only
gone.
like a handful. Whether that's PSA, because there's a lot of this stuff that you'll see a snippet in the paper, and you just can't follow it through. There's just nothing else to, so but I've never, whether they fell out of fashion, I don't really know. There's not that much written on caged lair. It's mainly mort safe. So you've got your mort safe society. You never have a caged lair society because it's always paid for by the more wealthy. Where the mort safe traditionally, unless you have a private mort safe, and then that's really simple affair, just like bands over it.
It's so interesting the way that it's. We can talk about this in a second, but the stratification of culture and society and economics that's all wrapped up in this. Kristen Meston, I actually love this. She says, this sounds like corpse prisons. Like I imagine a zombie uprising that is foiled by mort safes, or like these vampires who are like, what the hell? I can't. But yeah, it does. It sounds like, it sounds like when instead of thwarting, I mean, there's not a good way. I mean, I suppose it's better than shooting the body snatchers. It's a better.
Yeah, but you could still technically get down the side of a cage lair, because as far as I know, the bars don't go that far down.
I see. So you could dig up underneath it, or
you could if you want, if you were really desperate,
But it takes longer. I mean, part of the issue, and your book talks about this, is just how fast they were at this. I mean, they're like, it was a smash and grab, literally, like just boom, rope, gone, disappeared through the night, and people are just like, what? Somebody went for a coffee and came back, and it's like, where did the body go? So it is astonishing how quickly they could do this.
Yeah, massively. I mean, some people have been on watch. There's one case where a son keeps his watch over his dad nearly constantly for about 5 weeks, and he said they still managed to get in and take the body. And don't forget, there were a lot of the sextons and everybody were in the pay of the body snatchers, so that they turned a blind eye. Did I hear something? No, I didn't. I just got back.
I didn't. I thought, I've got to go feed the cat now. I'll be back.
So
I actually see a couple other good questions coming up. Chloe, I'm going to get to yours in a second. You guys go ahead and queue up some more questions because this is fascinating stuff. But before we go any further, we tried to really get into the spirit of the digging up the dead. We wanted to kind of feel what it was like to body snatch. And it's really important for me as host of the show, to get Davey to do the dirty work. And so Davey and actually Davey and Mark, or as everyone else knows him, Lady Paws, they went off to do some research for me, and I think Davey's got that queued up for us here.
Hey, Mark.
Oh, hey, Davey.
Hey, you ever get the feeling like maybe sometimes Brandy asks us to do too much for these peculiar sketches?
Yeah, I kind of do. And this is what, the third body this week?
Yeah, I mean, I know for Suzie Lennox, she really wanted us to get the feel of what it's like to be a resurrecting. Anyways, it's March in Ohio. I can't even get my shovel into the ground.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can only dig like maybe 8 inches, and now you're down to ice. So, and you know what? I've got a day job.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're just gonna have to tell Brandy. You know what? Maybe we could just buy a body, like the anatomist used to do, and we'll tell her we dug it up.
That she'll never know the difference.
Never know. We'll sprinkle a little dirt.
Exactly. Yeah, I like your idea.
All right, good plan. All right, so we'll just. Oh God, Mark has got me.
Wait.
Mark.
Oh no.
Mark has got me.
Wait.
Skeleton's got me.
What can I do? What can I do? I think something happened. I think something bad happened. There was a skeleton, and I don't know.
We've lost Davey.
We've lost Davey. Oh no.
You know, we aim for realism in this show. It's very important. I feel that, you know, it's I've got a hat thing happening here. So, yeah. Anyway, that skeleton. Don't worry. We put the skeleton back where it belonged. Kristen Meston says, "Oh, Brandy will know the difference. Brandy will know. We will never speak of this, Davey. Who? You can buy a body. I almost had to do that for the boss, but we decided to use a whole pig instead." See, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I have to say. Chloe says, "I shall hear no Brandy slander. The commitment to sketches is necessary." We did this for you, Suzie. We
I thought it was excellent.
Anyway, thank you, Davey, for that, for the verisimilitude there. Do you have any, you know, are you all right? Do you and the skeleton, you worked things out?
Yes, I survived. I got away.
Good.
I got away.
Good.
He's safely back in his grave.
Back in it. Good.
Back in his
Good.
grave.
Okay. Fantastic. I have a couple more questions. What is Chloe Rogers said? Did corpses end up losing? You know, you were talking about how she lost parts when they tried to put her back together, but did the corpses ever lose parts with the Snatchers? Are they ever like just not paying attention and they, I don't know, lose a finger here and there?
I don't know of any that kind of like literally just dropped off.
No syphilitic patients, I guess, or no.
There are body snatchers known to have specialized in extremities. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Crouch Gang. So the gang that operated or had the monopoly in London between, I want to say about 1810, 1818, maybe 1816. And one of their members, Joseph Naples, who wrote the diary.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He was known, his specialty is extremities. So, and there's a couple of entries in the diary where they're just selling little bits. But there are,
and bobs.
And bobs. But I mean, so every body snatcher worth their salt would have knocked the teeth out, don't forget, because that's a saleable commodity.
Of course.
Yes. So, and if you're caught with a cadaver over your shoulder, you've still got the teeth in your pocket, so it's not a complete waste of time.
Nice.
And the hair, don't forget, they would have cut the hair off. There's a couple of cases where you find like there's, Hessian sacks where they've shoved the hair in, and then they've shoved the limbs and everything in. And the inside of the bag is full of like matted hair.
Oh, sounds lovely. Sounds charming.
But I don't know of any. But see, I think that's the. Do you know the coffin collar? That's like stuck. There's literally an iron hoop.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that is bolted to the bottom of the coffin to keep the corpse in there. So and I often think like, gosh, if and this is where my medical knowledge kind of falls down. If the corpse is rotten enough and you have a good tug, would it come off?
Oh, I suppose it depends on how long it's been in there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, also like, if this is a frail older person as opposed to like a robust young fella.
So I like to think that a couple of sharp tugs, and it could have slipped.
I can't help thinking all of this technology for keeping bodies in the ground. I used to study the Chesky Krumlov vampire outbreak. That was where they thought they had vampires as an epidemic. It's a thing. And doctors came down and they were like, okay, so here's what we got to do. We got to make sure the bodies stay in the ground. So I feel like we've come full circle. It's like 18th century, come all the way back to the 19th and early 20th century, trying to keep the bodies in the ground. Leanne asks, since fake burglar signs do their job often, were there fake cages? Like a sign that says, there's a mort safe in here,
I don't know of any. I would have thought not cages, but maybe cemetery guns or something like that. Because it would have. Yeah, I've not heard of any, but gosh, something to look out for. I was going to say look forward to that, but I thought
next time you're right. I mean, there's only so many ways to do a.
Yeah, no, I've not heard of anything.
Interesting. But it sounds like a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Kathleen says, buy a body. Not on Amazon, I'm guessing. Anthro Girl says, will you be surprised? Pathology expert says, no, you have to have the right credentials, but they're cheaper than I expected. Like, well, I guess you aren't using it anymore, right? Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, and Antho Girl was talking about your point about the appendages. That would be worse, wouldn't it? That you just have these missing arms and legs. And Jennifer Pierce just got here. Hi, Jennifer. We're talking about missing arms and legs, basically.
Bits and bobs.
Right, bits and bobs.
Yeah.
But my question is, it seems like there's this doctor's riot in New York that has to do with this, isn't there? There's someone loses an arm. Someone thinks their mother's arm has been. Oh gosh, I've got to get the details right. There's a doctor's riot in New York. A child peeks into a place where they're dissecting bodies, and the guy picks up an arm and waves it at the kid, just an arm, and is like, "Go away! It's your mom's arm!" Ha! It's like your mama joke basically before. But he just lost his mother, so he goes home and tells his dad, like, they've dug up mom, and it ends up being this riot. I know that I've read about this. So that's in the US. Does that kind of thing happen in the UK as well?
Yeah. We've got. I know there's certainly a case where there's a student, a medical student, and he, for some unknown reason, their medical school is above I want to probably their digs again. There's a kitchen underneath, and for some unknown reason, he climbs up onto the roof of his medical school and throws a leg down the chimney, and it lands in the cooking pot in the kitchen below. And so that's one of my particular favorites. There are cases that have led to riots. I think it's in Perth, where, or it could be Aberdeen, or one of the two, somewhere in Scotland, let's say, where they were literally just burying those that they dissected in the ground behind the medical school, and a dog was digging up the bone.
Oh no!
Yeah, and that caused riots. But yeah, I mean riots. I don't know of any others where limbs have caused riots. But just going back to where we were talking about bits and extremities. There was, they would have stolen, if they were doing anything in particular or looking at a certain ailment, or if the deceased had a certain disfigurement or anything, the doctors could have asked for that particularly. And there's a case in Bristol in the late 1800s where the students stole just the head because they were working on the brain. So why steal a cadaver when you can
only need a head,
taking off the head instead? I mean,
I have to say Dr. White would have words about that, since I was writing about head transplant in my last book. But pregnant women were quite popular, I know, in the 18th century.
Were they trying to become head of the class?
I need like sound effect thingies. I need a board that I can press sound effects on, Davey. Wah, wah, wah. No, but I do find it, I mean, I like the idea of being buried with all of my parts. It's why I'm not a super, I mean, fine to be cremated. We talked about this when we had Mary Roach on the show about how we wanted our bodies to be treated. Would you donate your body to science, etc.? But there's something like, I don't know, I kind of like to think that all of me would end up in the same place, at least. And so it's really strange to think I'm really digging the image of the Frankenstein woman you were telling us about, buried in the wrong grave with a virgin chest, but a pregnant body. Stuff.
That was a huge case, that. And I can't remember what the final verdict is, if you know what I mean. I don't think they thought, they were quite convinced that was, that was who they were looking for, the husband and brothers. I think it was the brothers that finally said, this is my sister, and did the full reburial again. Yeah, that's
crazy. Well, and again, I mean, this I was telling you about the body that they were trying to identify on the wire rack during the torso murders. I'm gonna have to write an article about that. Yes, for you guys, basically.
Was the thing that was in newspaper wrappings?
Yes, they were in newspaper wrappings. Yeah, and they thought the idea was that it might have been a doctor. My point in the book, I didn't end up writing, was that there's a lot of books we don't end up writing. I'm sure you can attest to that. This happens, right? But one of the things is one of the doctors like appeared in each one of the cases, and I thought, why is he in all of them? And I thought, so I was a bit suspicious about I'm not saying but they do know how to cut things up.
Well, yeah.
Makes it convenient. So Leanne asked, she says, you give tours, I understand. What is a tour like, and who takes them, and like how do we get on one?
I didn't know I did tours, but yes, I can do if you want me to.
We would all go. We would just a whole bunch of peculiars. We'd just turn up and we'd wander cemeteries with you.
I don't, but I'm quite happy to meet loads of you if you want to. And it would probably mean just gadding around. I usually I try and put little road trips on my website. So if people are going, like
right, I've seen them.
Yeah, you just kind of have an afternoon wandering around because there's little clusters, you see. So, but yeah, if anybody wants a tour, I'm quite up for that. There are more on the horizon. So.
PBC meetup in the UK, says Lexi. Field trip. Do you know what? I have thought about this. I have to be honest. We have an enormous cemetery here in Cleveland. Davey can pop on and talk about it, but it's huge. It's President Garfield's here. Who else is here that's famous, Davey? We've got Rockefeller's here. Rockefeller, the New York Rockefeller, but he's buried in Cleveland.
Is there a couple of presidents here?
There's I don't know. There's all kinds of. There's a lot of dead people, basically. But and we've thought about doing a tour, like a virtual tour, where we invite all of you, and Davey and I wander around the graveyard, being like, "And here's a thing, and over there's a thing."
We have a tombstone shaped like a jukebox.
We do have a tombstone shaped like a jukebox.
Because rock and roll, the rock and roll city,
home of rock and fame. Yeah, but the other thing is we have help me, Davey. He stopped gangsters.
The Untouchables.
Yeah, that guy.
Yes, that guy. Played by Kevin Costner.
We have Kevin Costner here, even though he's still alive. We have Kevin Costner. He stopped Al Capone, that guy. Guys, help! Elliot Ness.
There we go.
Thank you. Ness.
Oh, shit.
Woo.
A few of them got it in there.
Yes, thank you. Elliot Ness is buried here, except he's not. He's not buried here. His gravestone is here. He actually was cremated and thrown in the pond, which isn't even legal. But that's what he wanted. So I guess when Elliot wants something, that's how it happens.
We also have a very macabre city. We have Terminal Tower. We have Dead Man's Curve.
We do.
It's very.
Oh, wow.
We're all about
macabre.
Yeah, we're a very dead place. We've got the Haunted Mansion here. I feel like we ought to do some kind of peculiar book club tour. We're just wandering around showing you all things. But this is, oh my gosh, can you guys imagine all the peculiar places we can see in the UK? Dream trip! Yes, I agree. So I'm watching the time, and the thing is, we got something special for you, Suzie.
Oh no! If this isn't the quiz, is it?
It is the quiz.
It is the quiz. Now,
is the quiz.
Here's the thing about the quiz. So originally, I latched onto the word resurrection. The resurrection method. That's the part I latched onto. But so it for some reason it made me think of like movie characters that have been resurrected. So it brought me back to like old movie monsters, the Mummy, things like that. But I have to give credit to and where is the comment? I have to give credit to Sharon Roney because she threw this on at the beginning of the show, and it made me think I totally forgot about body snatching movies. I completely blanked on body snatching movies, and you know what? I went back while you guys were talking, and I put together a body snatching quiz. So,
I love it.
This quiz is called "Hang On to Your Body." So,
all right, I'm gonna sneak myself out. I'll pop up when.
All right. So this is about. I'll read them for you, so you don't have to read the fine print. But it's all about body snatching movies. So in the 1978 film Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the characters learned to disguise themselves amongst the pod people by doing what? Is it A, walking with a limp, B, hiding their emotions, or C, flailing their arms?
Oh, God, cool.
And they will help you. The peculiars will help you.
I'm gonna say A.
She's gonna say A, walking with a limp. What do we think, peculiars?
I've not actually seen it. Oh, is it B? Oh.
I will allow you to change your answer. If you want to go with the peculiars, you can go with the peculiars.
I think I'm gonna go with B.
She's gonna go with B. The answer is yes.
Is that what
Hiding.
C? No, not
Hiding.
C.
Hopefully not C.
I
Yeah.
nearly went with C. And
Flailing their arms would be a little ridiculous, wouldn't it? Hiding their emotions. Yeah, that's how they blend in.
That's just how I live, basically, you know.
All right, question number 2. Our next body snatching film. We're going a little more modern with 1982's film The Thing. So this is set in Antarctica, and the creature is first introduced to the audience as this Antarctic animal. Is it A, a sled dog, B, an emperor penguin, or C, a seal? And in this, if you haven't seen this movie, the creature can inhabit whatever body it takes. So,
Do you know how much I hope it's a penguin? I really hope it's.
I'm going for seal. I've never seen it.
she's going for seal. Let's see what the peculiars say.
Oh no.
Stephanie's the first one to answer. She guessed A.
Controversial.
She's going with C. All right, the answer is A. It was a sled dog. It was a sled dog. Yeah.
I'm expecting to get 0 on this, just so you know. If I was so worried about it all day.
An invasion of emperor penguins would be a movie, though. That would be. And stay tuned for next week's episode, where we are definitely going to be talking about some emperor penguins with Dan Snow.
There's so many penguins, and there's pictures.
All right, question number 3. And this goes back to that original Sharon's original comment in the 1945 film The Body Snatcher. Boris Karloff, med student Donald Fatus, recognizes, I don't even know if I spelled that right, I was typing very fast, the body brought to him because she was a waitress, a street singer, or an actress.
Can I say I haven't seen it? Isn't that terrible? Oh gosh. Can I phone a friend?
I think Sharon, we need to see what she says on this one.
See, an actress, yeah.
I believe it's Sharon. I think that's Sharon. I think I'm saying it right.
I would go, and anybody else? There must be.
There she goes. She chimed in.
Oh, I'm gonna say A.
Yes, an A. They're all over the place on this one.
C. If my gut would be saying C, but I'm gonna go with A. That's my final answer.
Answer is actually B. It was a blind street singer that he had given a coin to, and then she showed up on his operating table the next day in his anatomy lab, and he started to suspect the person supplying him bodies wasn't on the level.
No.
All right. Well, great job.
Fantastic.
Great job. For someone, when you said at the beginning, I don't watch movies, I thought, well, this is.
I was thinking about this all day. I thought, gosh, what do I do?
Don't worry. You know what? Honestly, the reason Davey does these quizzes is because I am literally pop culture deficient. I can tell you all sorts of things that happened from like 1800s to the, like 18th century, even going back 1699. I can tell you what was hot. What happened last week? Not so great.
But I wish I could have put together a whole Simon Pegg quiz for you, maybe. That is a great movie. Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is a fantastic movie.
Oh, she says it's been too long since she saw it, but it was still. I love it. Sharon, you inspired Davey. How about that?
Yeah, you did. You made me work really hard.
And now we didn't have to pronounce whether it was Thoth or Tote.
Yeah. So yeah. We're gonna save it. Because I'm sure those monster questions are gonna be applicable to another author soon.
All right. Okay. You'll notice I threw my hat earlier. Sorry. This is hatless Brandy. This is my face.
You did. You went through a costume change halfway through.
Yeah. Sorry. I could have been wearing one of my wigs, I suppose. But
I was thinking when you were talking about the fake yard signs that we have now for security, and you were talking about the fake cages for the graves, did they ever try anything to brand or mark people that rob the graves? So like any chemicals or ink or anything like that, like almost like if you opened a money bag from a bank?
Yeah, not that I've seen or
like an explosion of purple ink if you get into the grave.
Yeah.
Other than a volley of bullets through the body.
That, well, you know,
Yeah.
come to think of it, that's a pretty permanent mark right there.
But no, not that I've seen. So
If only we were alive back then, I could have pitched that.
Yeah.
You know, I
You
mean,
could've,
imagine
you
a chemical burn to the hand would have been a dead giveaway in court.
That's true.
They
Well, you know what?
God, I was going to say they did like some prevention methods was to throw like quicklime on the corpse. So whether any of them would try and get it, you know, from there and were burnt, I've not read anything. So
I was just thinking, you know, there was such a Susan Ballinger said, well, the stink is hard to wash off, and it's probably true.
Yeah.
Or serves as a perfume that gets you a wife and a girlfriend in the case of that one body snatcher. But I was thinking, you know, Victorian era is also the time of vitriol throwing. I'm surprised there was no crossover of any kind there.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to gun him down. I just want to maim him for life. That's all. A little, you know, it's the kinder, gentler Gatling gun of cemeteries. Mike Breen could have had a whole different career. You know, not just the guns, but the vitriol cannons. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Just thinking. Think of all the things we could have sold, Davey. I feel like we'd have been like the snake oil salesman of body snatching preventatives, right?
Branded Peculiar Book Club.
Peculiar remedies for body snatching. So, you know what? Oh gosh, we're running out of time. I'm astonished at how fast this went. You know, it's time flies when you're talking about digging up dead bodies. But I do have some final questions. It's a personal question. Just gonna know. You told me that you're a little squeamy, a little bit scaredy. You said, right? You don't watch horror movies. So, exactly how much time do you spend in graveyards?
I spend a lot. So when I go out like on a body snatching tour myself, I'm up at the crack of dawn, and I'm usually in a graveyard sometimes like for 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And some of these places are pretty remote, and I've gone for like the body snatching stuff. So like the Mort safe or the watch house or the Mort house. And some of them have been that freaked out. Like there's a couple of Mort houses that I haven't been able to go in. If they're open, I'll try and go in. And I do freak myself out. It's just so quiet. They're in the middle of nowhere, some of these places.
Yeah.
Even like GPS, I can't find them. Do you know what I mean? Like round and round and round circles.
Sounds like where I grew up.
Eh?
I live next to a cemetery in the middle of nowhere in an abandoned.
See, I mean, they're fabulous because you're wandering around and you have the place to yourself, and your mind starts kind of like, oh, because I stand like where the graves are and look at the direction which way the body snatchers would have come, and I line myself up with the door of the watch house, and I'm like, oh yeah, they could have come over there, and you know, and you'll see like some random person maybe walking the dog, you're like, like at 6 o'clock in the morning.
It's a Mort safe. There's a Mort safe here.
And then I just spend about 20 minutes photographing. There's one Mort safe that's just 3 rods of iron sticking out the ground, and the number of photos I've got of that is just like, so I must have been there for about 20 minutes, and there must have been like, what's she doing?
She's gonna rob that grave. She's taking measurements. I'm sure of it.
So you might be the perfect person to ask this. Have you seen anything supernatural?
Oh my God! Right, I was in Spivey, way up in Scotland, and I was there on my own. I'd done it once over like round, and I was just kind of like packing up my stuff, and and nobody ever goes to these places, like they're dead. And I saw this man standing over near a grave, and I thought, oh gosh, you know, I'm quite respectful. If I see anybody, I just kind of pack up, and you know, it's they don't want people taking pictures and stuff. And I literally packed up, and I turned around, and he was not there, literally not there. And I was like, oh my God! And I ran out of the graveyard, and I tried to peer back around the tree, and I could not see this man at all. And then he did appear, and I was like, oh. thank God for that. But I do freak myself out quite a lot. I've not seen anything. If I saw anything, that would be it, and I'd have to go back to my day job as a florist or something. I'm like, no. I like the idea of it. I'd love to, but no way.
No. I see. I'm much more comfy with ghosts and goblins. Actually, I think. I mean, I spent a lot of time in graveyards too when I was young, but I also did a lot of it at night. Well, I lived next to it. You know, it was right there. And I lived in an underground house, so there's a sense in which I was in a grave myself, and so I think I was sort of like, I kind of got them, but we did see all kinds of weird stuff when we were kids up there, and things that you don't realize. Like I don't realize it often until I'm just chatting with people, and I'm like, well, when you're reading a book sitting on a gravestone, and then you see, and people are like, what is this? Back up. What were you reading? And I was like, it was about the bubonic plague, because it was 14th century history. I was really into that when I was 8. And then you realize that's why I started the Peculiar Book Club, because I need to find all of you, because the regular people were like, what is her problem? Oh, Kathleen says, we have a Mount Pleasant Cemetery here in Toronto, a beautiful historic place to walk. My mother would take me there for walks as a kid. And Susan was actually talking about somebody whistling in a cemetery and freaking out her son. I did once cut across the cemetery in Paris in the middle of the night to get to where I was trying to get to. And there were two. So it's very strange. I run into British people when I'm in Paris. I don't know why, but there was two British gents, and they were like, where are you going? And I was like, well, I need to get, I'm just going to cut across the cemetery. And they were like, oh, it's very dangerous. And I was like, they're all dead. That was my comment.
I was in Greyfriars in Edinburgh about 7 o'clock in the morning once, and that freaked me out a bit. Especially walking past, the Black Mausoleum.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah,
not a good thing. So they actually moved the cemeteries out of San Francisco. That's crazy. I did not know that. I know that there's some empty cemeteries in the South because the trade in bodies almost invariably in this country attacked the underprivileged. A lot of Black cemeteries were robbed, and there's literally just some that are hollow, completely devoid of any actual bodies.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Still find bones up near the Palace of the Legion of Honor Museum, though, which used to be a cemetery, now a golf course. Well, that should be it. So maybe they didn't move all the bodies. Isn't that the Poltergeist movie? Isn't that what that movie's about?
Moving bodies.
I think you aren't supposed to wander. Whoops. No, wandering through cemeteries is completely on par for our group of people, actually. So, Suzie, we've put up links where people can find your book online. What are some other things? I think I've linked to your Facebook page. I've linked to some other things that you do. Your Twitter account. Is there anything else that we should definitely know about that you've been up to, so that we don't miss any fabulous digging up history stuff?
The main is just my website, which is you've got it on there, diggingup1800.com. And I'm usually most active on Twitter. If it's going to happen, it'll happen on there, and then on Facebook. So I do apologize, everybody that follows me on Facebook and not on Twitter. But it's mainly on the website, and I'm starting to branch out. Let's say into tours. Oh, there you go.
Yes, no, I love it. We would all go on a tour with you. Absolutely. There's no doubt we would do that. There we go. There's one of the cages. Hurrah. There we go.
Oh, that's the cursed one. That's one place I will never ever go.
Which one? Where?
The cursed grave of Seth.
The cursed grave.
No way.
Oh, I would go there.
No, well, you can tell me all about. There's no way I'd go there. I've tried to find it. Do you know I cannot find it up and down this road. And I can't find the cut that goes in. People do go, obviously, but I just couldn't. It's not signpost or anything. So it is on my mission to go, and I'll just wait in the car and send somebody.
I will be your girl or boy or
you have to,
person. Anyway, I'll be that one.
I'll you in or something like that.
I'll go with you. Susan says she'll come. Cool, we'll do it. We'll go. Brandy can leave. Yeah, it's true. We'll you'll wait outside. He said. Old cemeteries were not well marked. That is true. Fun story. Last one I'll tell. When I grew up, which did happen at one point in my life. We lived, it's a strange thing to say, but we lived on 50 acres, and the 50 acres was in 400, like 100,000 acre, big area of public land. And my dad and I, we would go out with lamps at night because we had raccoon dogs, you know, and we stumbled into a settler's graveyard. Like, it's not marked. It was just stones with trees growing up through it. I mean, there was no road, no anything. I have no idea how long it had been there. This is a sort of Pennsylvania-Ohio border. And so I'm assuming that there had been a little community at some point that nobody knows about, that is just in the middle of this 100,000 acre forested area. And the stones didn't have any words on them, but they were clearly meant to be, headstones. And I tried to find it in the daytime and couldn't, only stumbled upon it at night. So I was like, that's good stuff right there. That's a story starter right there. Jennifer says our list of peculiar field trips is getting long. It really is. So thank you. This is so interesting. Suzie, I love your work. I love your Facebook. I love your Twitter. I follow you all the time. Everyone else should too. Thank you for being with us, even though it's late where you are. It did finally get dark here too, but the sun just went down. So yes, thank you, all of you.
Thank you very much.
So good to have you. Thank you. Mwah. If you're weird, you belong here. Because if you're weird, you're family.
You got the blue bottle blues when you wake up in the night. Don't make a big mistake, 'cause you can never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival, baby, better watch your back. There is no antidote. There is